The Lakers are no longer in the playoffs. Anthony is very sad. We will talk about that later on in the program. We start, however, with someone else who is no longer participating, or at least didn't participate today. That man's name is Chase Young. This is a cause of great consternation amongst, frankly, both sides of the argument. The "it's voluntary" crowd really has dug their heels in. They are loud. Then there is the "I can't believe there's the it's voluntary" crowd. I will say I listened to the start of Grant and Danny today over on The Fan, and if you missed Danny's rant, it was a good rant. Forget the content, whether you agree with the take, subjectively, very good radio rant. Excellent job, Mr. Funny Danny Rouillet. Not shockingly, I think if you know me, I land somewhere, Anthony, again, this is going to absolutely shock people, somewhere a little in the middle. I'm a lot closer to Danny than I am the "it's voluntary" crowd. I didn't get my clapping emojis right, but that's fine. I'm not trying to completely rip off their bit, so I'll just screw up the rhythm. But this is not good. And that should be good enough for a take, if you will. Here's what I will say before I jump into the reasons why this is not good. This is day one of voluntary OTAs. He is not required to show up in that he is not being insubordinate, right? Also, if he shows up tomorrow and doesn't miss another practice, today doesn't matter. I'm not going to empty the clip proverbially today on Chase Young. However, this is very stupid that he is not there. And that I also feel very comfortable saying. Here's why. Chase Young is someone who needs to become a better football player. This isn't about optics. This isn't about trust. This isn't about proving anything to anyone. This is about whether or not Chase Young is giving himself the best chance to be the guy that they re-sign next offseason. Chase Young is a free agent after this season. Chase Young has not lived up to the hype. Chase Young has not produced anything meaningful in the last couple of years. I thought he was very solid when he came back last year. Clearly not himself, but did a good job. Was much more assignment sound and disciplined, held the point of attack, did a lot of good things that you would hope that are kind of standard if he's Chase Young, and then you hope he adds the Chase Young freaky stuff back on. But he did okay in those 3 games by like regular NFL standards, not by Chase Young wants to be a superstar standards. So if Chase Young goes out, no matter how many practices he goes to over the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it is, till we're done with OTAs, if he misses every single one, shows up to mandatory minicamp because it's mandatory, has a great training camp, or even has a bad training camp, but then goes out and has 16 sacks in the season, you know it's not going to matter? Any of this stuff. Not a lick of it. Which is why, indirectly, this has no bearing on his contract situation. It has no bearing on anything. Or I should say, directly it doesn't. However, the reason this is a problem is not optics, it's not trust, it's not any of that stuff. It's that Chase Young needs reps. Chase Young is a, no pun intended, young football player. He is an extremely inexperienced football player. He played 3 years at Ohio State, where he was the best athlete on the field, and used that to be dominant, as well as some very solid technique, an intelligence for the game, and a knack for making very special, very unique plays. Like, that's all true. He came in as a rookie. He was good. But playing NFL football, and again, this is just mind-blowing analysis, the kind of stuff you come right here for. Playing NFL football is really, really hard. These are the best players on the planet. They're all super freak athletes. They're all very smart. And most of them work extremely hard. But working hard is not good enough. You have to work on the right things. This is not a 40-yard dash bench press contest. That's the combine. This is not a how good do you look with your shirt off in a workout video contest. That's Instagram. This is a game with a scoreboard, and if you're on the field, you have a chance to affect whether you score or the other team scores, depending on if you play offense or defense. And in Chase Young's case, he's got a lot of responsibility in making sure the other team doesn't. And his mental understanding of that responsibility and his physical ability to go out and execute it, his ability to make decisions and reads in real time. Do I have the opportunity to go make this play by getting underneath the block? Am I working in concert with my teammates like John Allen and Deron Payne, both of whom are far more established in the league, have their big fancy contracts, and showed up today? Do I know how to play off of them in a way that is beneficial, that is going to help us keep the other team from scoring? And maybe because I'm Chase Young, a freaky athlete who does these kinds of things, maybe I even score myself. I get the strip sack. I get the fumble recovery. That's the kind of stuff he does. It's why you drafted him number 2 overall. This isn't about optics. This isn't about Ron Rivera. He's got to trust Chase Young. No, if Chase Young balls out, they'll pay him his freaking money. Because that's what they do, and that's what everyone does in the league. Trent Williams doesn't have to show up for anything again for the rest of his life except for games. And guess what? If he blocks like he blocks and does the stuff that he does, all the Trent Williams stuff, Kyle Shanahan will continue to start him at left tackle, and he will tell John Lynch and the rest of the front office, pay that man his money until Trent Williams decides he's had enough and he would like to go home. Because he's Trent Williams. He's earned that. Patrick Mahomes probably doesn't need to show up for anything. I do think quarterback's pretty helpful. But like Patrick Mahomes isn't working on stuff or doesn't need to work on stuff. He just got to keep being Patrick Mahomes. Guess what? He does, because he has a desire to get better, and he understands the importance of within an 11-man unit, I am extremely important, and so I need to make sure that my teammates are on the same page with me. And with Chase especially, someone who wants to be a leader, you can't lead when you're not there. You don't get to show up at any job, any office, anything. Any group of people, when you haven't been around and be like, I'm in charge now. It's not how it works. That's respect, especially at the highest levels of performance, that is earned. And Chase Young hasn't earned that. And that's not me like putting that on Chase or putting that on his teammates. That is just being around the league and calling it the way it is, right? Chase doesn't have to prove anything to me, to you, to anybody listening, unless his teammates are listening. He has to go out and play. And him not being at OTAs is about him missing an opportunity to become a better football player. This is not basketball where NBA guys get together and after doing a lot of individual workouts and working on individual skills, get together and play a fair amount of one-on-one in the offseason. Or 5-on-5 in the offseason. Like, the runs that Chris Brickley puts on in New York City are pretty freaking good. They're not quite NBA games, but they're the best basketball that's being played on the planet outside of the NBA and maybe some like the La Liga in Spain. The organized games in the Spanish top tier, which is the second best league in the world, maybe are as good as the NBA pickup games that happen in the summer. That's not how football works. It's not how the NFL works. Chase Young doesn't have a chance to play football or anything resembling football in the offseason. He does a lot of individual work, which is required for his job. He can do a lot of really important stuff and needs to do a lot of really important stuff on his own. But eventually you have to play with and off of the guys next to you. And you have to play within a scheme that you will be able to execute better if you practice. This is your chance to practice. You are missing it. You are not good enough and don't have enough reps under your belt in the NFL to be missing opportunities to get better. So I'm not going to then turn this into a thing about humility or humbleness or whatever. Like, that's just football analysis. And I'm really, really comfortable leaving that right there. Frankly, I'm a little comfortable going further. Talking about things like professionalism. Talking about trust. Talking about those things. Because I think those things are real. They just don't matter as much as being good at football. And Chase Young is passing up an opportunity to be better at football. And that's why it's a mistake. None of the other stuff. It all factors in. But that's icing. Cake, be good at football. And Chase Young has not been good enough. This is a chance for him to be better, and he is not there. And that seems like a gigantic mistake. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. You can call us 301-230-0980. Taking your calls on Chase Young until the bottom of the hour. Again, 301-230-0980. Leave us a comment on YouTube as well, where we're streaming live at youtube.com/@theteam980. Quick version of the take in case you just tuned in. Chase Young, that's the storyline. He's not at the first day of OTAs today. By the way, neither is Montez Sweat. Neither is Charles Leno. Leno, I don't particularly care about. He probably feels like a much less, like, he kind of guy that'll be there tomorrow, had a personal thing today. Sweat's an interesting one to watch. And Logan and I talked about this more extensively on Take Command, specific to Sweat and Young. As long as Montez is there and in meetings, like, I'm pretty cool with that. I don't think he needs a ton of practice reps. He's been, unlike Chase, playing the last 4 years. Chase, there's a chance to have a practice level intensity and a spring practice level intensity that I think would be good for him, that then ramps up into the mini camp, ramps up into training camp, ramps up into preseason, and then ultimately into regular season speed. That would be great for Chase Young. As someone with a fitness background who's worked on a ton of rehabs, like, that's actually ideal. Hey, I've got a 6-month ramp, or let's see, what are we in, May? A 3-month ramp here that I can do actual football stuff and get mental reps, like, on the field at this stage of rehab. Like, that's ideal. And I know he's kind of post-rehab because he got back to playing last year, but I really do think, like, that gradual ramping up into the season, there's a reason why this stuff is set up this way. And for someone who hasn't played a lot the last couple of years, like, that's a giant opportunity that he's missing, and I just don't get why. 301-230-0980. I got a couple of calls rolling in. Let's get started with Scott in Silver Springs. Scott, you, sir, are on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Scott. Thanks for calling.
I agree. I agree with you. I don't understand, especially since he caught so much flack the first time he did this, and then after being injured, now, like you said, the opportunity to get reps and to get work in. I mean, I wonder if it just doesn't have something to do with them not picking up this 5th-year option, or, I mean, I have no idea. But I really like the guy. I'm a big fan of his. But this is just, I just don't understand.
And that's kind of my thing, Scott, is like, let's say it does have something to pick up, or have to do with picking up the 5th-year option. What is he getting out of it by not showing up?
I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, that would be even more of a feather in his cap if he was there working hard. I mean,
yeah,
and especially 100%. Since he hasn't put up any numbers since his rookie year, and you can blame it on injury. But before he got injured his second year, he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't making any noise. So 100%. I don't know.
Thanks, Scott, for the call. Appreciate it. You know, I was having this conversation with my wife earlier in a different context, but like, sometimes if you get a complaint about, I'll use myself and as an example. When I was younger in my career, I didn't really like the role that I had at a previous radio station. And I started to really slack off and gave the absolute bare minimum. And I eventually got called into my boss's office, and he was basically like, fix it or you're out of here. And I was like 24 at the time, like young, early in my career. Professionalism wasn't at maximum levels yet. And I felt entitled to certain things because I thought I had done the work. And when on my timeline, I felt like I had deserved more and I saw opportunities to go to other places, like I started to slide. I was like, fine, then I'll show up, I'll do my job, and I'll go home. And that wasn't enough. I needed to do more. I needed to be prepared. I needed to do not just a job, but I needed to do a good job. And I got some advice that is cliched advice, but I really took it to heart. And it's, if you want to get, like, the best way to get the job you want is to do the job you have. And I made it so my work was going to be so far beyond reproach that if I got passed over again for opportunities, then I could, withstanding, go to my boss and be like, yo, what the hell? Like, what do you want from me? I'm doing such a good job. Everyone, you've said I'm doing a good job. What more do you want? And ultimately, I got some more opportunities, but also I got to a point where I realized that that wasn't going to be good enough, and I left because I got a better opportunity because someone else noticed my work. And so the reason I tell that story is if you're Chase Young and you're mad because you think you deserve that fifth-year option because of whatever reasons that he may have, well, you didn't get it, and there's only one way for you to get the next contract, which is to work for it. And I'm not saying Chase is sitting on his couch, eating potato chips, doing no work. For all I know, he's doing extremely intense and valuable individual work on his own. But I just have a hard time seeing how that individual work is as valuable to him as a football player when his individual skills and traits are not really what the question is. It's how well can you be a part of the team on and off the field. By not showing up to training or to OTAs, you're not helping your cause at all. You're not getting the job that you want by doing the job that you have. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Blaine. Blaine, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, what do you say, Craig? How's it going, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, no problem, man. I'm with you on the Chase deal, man. It doesn't make much sense to me why you wouldn't show up. You're supposed to be a leader. That's the whole thing. He's not going to be there. He's not going to be ready to bang. He's not going to be ready to do anything like that. But he should be there to just to do the rah-rah thing, man. He's something he's pretty good at.
No, Blaine, I appreciate the call. And if I'm talking to the right Blaine, I also appreciate all the YouTube comments. Much appreciated, man. Thank you.
Hey, dude, that's no problem. I'm here to support you, brother.
I appreciate it.
You do a fantastic job, man. And you educate the crap out of me. So
Thank
at
you,
least
Blaine.
I can do it by getting in there and helping you monetize and help you get a good thing going, man.
I appreciate it, Blaine. Thank you. So, to Blaine's point, the other thing about OTAs is you don't have to just show up and practice. If you're at a stage where you're still working some things out and you're like, hey, I'm not going to participate in team drills today, you can go through individuals. You can go through the meetings. You don't even have to go through the individuals. Like Daron Payne last year did very limited work, but he was there, right? He was there because it was good for him and it helped him have the best season of his career. I'd be fascinated to ask Daron Payne tomorrow when the media gets out there, hey, man, how much did showing up to OTAs last year, even though you were a limited participant, help you get set for the season? And my guess is he'd say, it definitely helped. We practice for a reason. So if you're Chase Young and you're trying to have the kind of year that Daron Payne just did, best year of your career, statistical excellence, a part of a winning team in terms of at least their side of the ball, defensively, they were pretty freaking good last year. It doesn't make sense. And the idea that, it's voluntary. He doesn't have to. Okay. You don't have to. But at the end of the day, you do have to produce. And if your employer is offering you a resource to help you produce and you don't take it, you damn well better produce. And if you don't, they're going to find someone else. And that's the reality that Chase Young is staring down. Is his employer is offering a way for him to be better at his job. It's not mandatory. He doesn't have to do it. But hey, here's a resource. In our at work portal, you can take this class to help with XYZ skill. No, you can show up to practice. We'll help you get better. And it'll probably help us win games. And if you produce, it'll get you paid. And Chase is like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to do it on my own. Okay. Seems like a bad decision, but we'll find out in the fall when he either balls out or doesn't. Or I open with this and I'll close with this on this topic for now before Law Murray joins us to talk some hoops. Or he shows up tomorrow and we just wasted half an hour. If he shows up tomorrow and does the full rest of the practices, misses 0 more, 1 more, is that a missed opportunity? Yes. Is it 1%? Probably. Maybe not even. He can make up the work. whatever. If he misses all of it and he misses stacking the one good day on top of another good day on top of another good day, then he's behind. Then I think it's a mistake, and I think you will see that in the fall. If not, if it's just one day, chances are doesn't really make that much of a difference. So before we fully empty the clip, before we fully go, this guy's lost his mind, let's at the very least see if he shows up tomorrow. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Appreciate the calls. When we get back, Law Murray from The Athletic talking hoops. Yikes. Lakers swept. We're talking about it next.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.